Grønn torsdag.
Other parts of Norway. Okay, I think we're going to start then. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our seminar, Lebanon at a Crossroads, Internal Struggles, Regional Dynamics, and Paths to International Solidarity. So, my name is Cindy Robles, and I'm a member of the International Committee of the Green Party of Norway, and I'm very honored to be your moderator for this important discussion today. This webinar is part of the Norec-funded GPL and the Green Party of Norway project, where I'm also a member of the steering committee. So let me start with some context before introducing the participants. So Lebanon may be small on the map, but it holds a very unique and strategic position in the Eastern Mediterranean and the wider Middle East. It's a place where many regional interests collide, and its stability or instability has ripple effects far beyond its borders. At the moment, Lebanon is facing a severe crisis. Years of sectarian politics have blocked political progress, leading to a collapse in governance, and the economic and social fallout is devastating. Poverty and unemployment are soaring, and more people are rising up in civil resistance, demanding change. And to make things a bit more complex, Lebanon is caught in the middle of rising regional tensions, as you all are very well aware of. The war on Gaza, marked by destruction and mass displacement, has led many international actors to describe it as a possible genocide. And it continues to create instability with significant spillover effects. And the escalating tensions between Iran and Israel also play out heavily in Lebanon. So this isn't just and everything happening in the Middle East is not only a regional problem, it's a global one. So Lebanon's instability threatens the broader peace in the Middle East and contributes to serious humanitarian crises that need coordinated international responses. And that's why solidarity from countries like Norway is so vital. This means standing firmly for international law, supporting human rights and civil society, providing humanitarian aid, and promoting sustainable development. So before we begin, allow me to introduce our distinguished panelists who will guide us through this complex and very important conversation. So first we have Dr. Halima Kakour. So she's the member of the Lebanese parliament. Dr. Kakour holds a PhD in public international law and was elected as an MP in the 2022 parliamentary elections. She's also a lecturer at the Faculty of Law and Political Science at the Lebanese University. She's a founding member of the Social Democratic Party of Lebanon and has worked extensively as a trainer and consultant for both international and local organizations in areas such as gender, leadership, good governance, and local development. Welcome to you, Dr. Kakour.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. Oh, there you are. Great. Joining her is Fadi El Jamal, a Lebanese social and political activist. Fadi serves as the Political and International Relations Officer for the Green Party of Lebanon. He's currently the project coordinator for the collaboration between the Green Party of Lebanon and Norway's Green Party. With extensive political engagement in international cooperation, Fadi is deeply committed to fostering collaboration between green movements across the globe. And then representing Norway, we have Sigrid Heiberg, who has just served as one of the members of the Norwegian Parliament for the Green Party. She currently serves as the party spokesperson on finance, and she used to serve as the party spokesperson on foreign affairs. She's also been the leader of Oslo MDG from 2020 to 2025 and is a member of the Oslo City Council. So she has a background in several activist and civil society organizations. She worked with the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, which was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017. And later she also joined the campaign to stop killer robots, an international initiative to regulate autonomous weapons systems. So welcome to you, Sigrid. I'm not sure if you're there yet, but yeah, okay, great. There you are, great. Welcome. So first we'll start by hearing from Dr. Halima Kakour about Lebanon's internal crisis, the sectarian blocks to reform and the human cost of economic collapse and the rising of civil resistance. And then Fadi El Jamal will take us through the regional dynamics, explaining how regional actors like Iran, Israel, and others shape Lebanon's current current, sorry that I lost the, I lost the word here. But he's going to present on the broader sort of regional issues in the Middle East. And after that, Sigrid will highlight what Norway and the broader international community should do to uphold international law in the region, including taking clear positions on the ongoing genocide in Palestine, and also touch upon Norway's peace efforts and humanitarian support, and also the Green Party's political positions in the Middle East. And following that, Halima, Sigrid, and Fadi will share their thoughts on future reforms, de-escalation in the region, and how, you know, Norway and Lebanon can cooperate to promote peace and sustainable development. And then finally, we will open the floor for questions as well. So to just kick us off here, I will start with the first speaker then, and you, Dr. Halima Kakur, will talk about the Lebanon's sort of internal struggles. So I'll hand over the word to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you, Fadi, also. I'm so happy to be with you now and this panel and this webinar. So yes, I'm gonna just a little bit explain to you the consociational confessional system in Lebanon. As you know, everyone, I think, you're reading about consociational system and Liebhardt books when he explained power sharing systems and everything. So in theory, even consociational system in theory is different from the consociational system in Lebanon. So in Lebanon, we're implementing the consociational system in a different way. Even I, as professor of human rights, I have problem with all consociational system in the world based on power sharing and based on groups' rights, not on individual rights. As we know all that human rights are based on individual rights. So every person has a right to guarantee the equality amongst all people, all individuals. The problem in these systems and in Lebanon especially is that we're giving right to the group. We're giving right to the Sunnah, to the Muslim, to the Christians. We're giving right to the Shia, to the group. And every group, depending if this group is big or small, so they can take privileges because I don't call it rights, I call it privileges, depending on the size of the group he's belonging to. So for example, the prime minister is Sunni, the president of the republic is Christian, is Maronite, and the speaker of the house is Shiite, because these three communities are the biggest in Lebanon. Do you understand? Now, I know that Lebanon is complicated, but I'm trying to explain that we don't have individual rights. For example, if you're Alawi or Druze, or if you're, for example, Armenian, because we have Lebanese Armenian, or you cannot dream of being, for example, a minister, for example, a minister. Because minister, yeah, they can get like 2 Armenian. Alawi, you cannot dream about it because the Alawi is the size of the community is smaller than the other one. So depending on even director of Lebanese University, for example, is a public institution. It's a public university. For example, if you want to be a dean in any faculty, you need to belong to this community or to that. So this is why many communities are not represented at this level of any job, and especially when we talk about the public institutions. Since the declaration of the Lebanese Republic in 1926, Lebanon's political system has featured proportional representation of confessional groups. These features have led to the formation of grand coalitions in government and public administration. Because you need to know that all government we got in the history of Lebanon, it was really divided amongst sects and confessions. And in the Ta'if, it was not they really mentioned that they need to abolish this confessional system. But that is why in many articles like 95 or 22, they mentioned how to abolish this confessional system. And And it's not mentioned because we have the text of the constitution and we have the implementation, and they are contradictory. It's another layer of complications in Lebanon. So, for example, Article 95 stipulates that all jobs and that شو في أقولها فادي? It's like first rank, I don't know, maybe we can translate it like that. The first rank, which is the highest rank in the public administration. So should be, for example, yes, he's ranked as number 1. Yes. Thank you, Fadi. So this ranks, the Constitution is talking just about these ranks. The rank number 1 that should be divided half-half, Muslim and Christian. But they said, okay, all other jobs should rely on meritocracy. So should not distribute it among sex. What's happening now, it's all jobs and all ranks are distributed among sects, which kills the meritocracy. That even if you're able to do the job, their capacity, your CV, anything, you need to go into this division between sects. So even in the name of custom, constitutional custom, we are violating the constitution itself. So they are calling all these practices as constitutional customs, which is, in my opinion, as a legal person, as PhD in international law, it's not called custom, it's called practice, because customs could not go against the text itself of the Constitution. So that is why this system is not democratic, in my opinion, is going against the human rights, against equality, and even against any reform. But you cannot implement any reform because of this. For example, now we are discussing the judicial independence law. For example, if we need to elect some judges, or we need to elect all judges, for example, they have the problem, how can we guarantee the distribution of seats within judges? So it's been like 5 years discussing this. This law is blocked in the commission, in the parliamentarian committee, because of the distribution, because of the election of judges, which block the guaranteeing of the distribution of sex amongst the judges. So it's really killing all reforms we need to implement in Lebanon. And when it comes to women's rights, we have a problem also because of these confessional problems, because confessionals, the institutional, religious institutions are governing in this. For example, the Lebanese woman cannot give her nationality to the kids because the number of Muslims might grow and might really change the demographic situation in Lebanon. And Muslims, they don't want to criminalize early marriage because Muslim religious people or Muslim institutions, religious institutions, they don't want to pass this law. So what I want to say that we have real problems related to the confessional system and to this power sharing consociational system. And even in many Lebanese crises, domestic tensions pertaining to power sharing have been exacerbated by foreign actors linked to Lebanon's position in the region. And I think Fadi will continue talking about that. Its alliances, its involvement in the Arab-Israeli conflict, its internal division over the Palestinian cause, and recently its relation with the Syrian regime or with the Iraqi regime or Saudi regime. So always we have this problem because this system is really exacerbating identity crisis. So everything, for example, many Sunni are related, they see themselves related to Turkey or related to Saudi Arabia. Shia, they see themselves related to Iran, to Iranian regime. So this is why the interference of many foreign states is easier with this. So everyone is coming to Lebanon to interfere in our domestic affairs in the name of the protection of Sunni, Shia, or Christians. So which make it a little bit complicated because we don't have this sense of citizenship, of union, of unity, national unity, because we always feel a problem with this really belonging to the state as a state. We have the problem of state. We need to build a state, but what kind of state? In my opinion, it should be a secular state. It should be religiously neutral, and it should guarantee the equality among citizens. And this is the problem. And the problem is all traditional parties who are in power, all traditional parties are sectarian. So you can have like Christian party pretending the protection of Christian people. You can see Shia party pretending because no one is protecting the citizens, okay? So it's a lie. In my opinion, it's a big lie. So the Sunni party pretending that they are protecting the Sunni citizens, and who is providing this protection? The state, not them. That is why the leaders, not the leaders, Zaim, the chief is very strong. The institutions are very weak. So when the Zaim is really strong, the rule of law and the institutions are weak because they are above law, because they are above institutions. Institutions themselves are not working as institutions. We see institutions, we see parliament as Nabil Berri. We used to see the government as Hariri. Now Hariri is gone, but we used to see the government through years and years and years as Hariri person. It belongs to Hariri. So we have a problem even with municipality at the local development level. The municipality is the mayor. Rais al-Baladiyya is not the municipality as institution. We have a problem with the institution, with dealing with the institution. If we have a rule of law or any rule of law, we call someone to help us breaking this rule of law. Okay, so we have a deep problem. In my opinion, the problem in Lebanon, the crisis in Lebanon is structural. Structural. It's not really about this person or that. We have a systemic problem. We have a problem with the political system itself. We have a problem with the economic system itself. It's really one of the biggest economy who concentrate power and wealth and the few in the hand of the few. Okay, so when you talk about social justice is mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution, Lebanese Constitution, social justice. And we are far away of having social justice. This is a problem itself because it helps to decrease the sense of belonging to the state. Because this relation to the state it's a duty rights relation. If we don't provide rights to the citizens, especially economic social rights, they're not gonna feel attached to the state. So we have a problem with that. We're not providing, we have a problem with educational rights, we have a problem with health rights, we have a problem of all social economic rights, and even political and civil rights are not really perfect in Lebanon. When it comes to the right of election, if you see the law, if you do the implementation of the law, no, it's not a law, it's not a real law. If you go to the implementation, you see the report of Lade, monitoring of the election in Lebanon, oh la la, it's crazy. When it comes to the media, when it comes to the funds of funding the political party, funding we have a problem because we don't have financial transparency of political parties in Lebanon, because they can be funded by foreign parties, by foreign states without any accountability. And this is the real problem. For example, I can give you an example. I couldn't go and run without fundraising. And my fundraising, the result of my fundraising was $43,000. Okay? So I spent $43,000 and I published on my social media every penny and from where I got and where I spent it. And millions of dollars were distributed in my region, in my area, in order to buy votes. So we cannot have this equality of opportunities because of this international affiliation, regional affiliation, because we belong to this state outsider, and we get money from this state. And it's really impacting civil and political rights, and not just economic and social rights. So I think I'm gonna stop here because I took so much time, I think.
No, you're good on time, and we'll get back to you as well with some comments after Fadi's presentation as well.
Great. But I will finish with this sentence, Cindy. I will close my intervention with this. Reynolds 2005, he published a book, and in this book he was talking about consociational system, and I was enjoying reading this book because he was radical therapy that may make some patients sicker and should therefore be used only in desperate cases where other less drastic methods will surely fail. So he said, it's like a medicine we're giving to a patient, but we're making this patient sicker, and this is what happened in Lebanon. We gave this recipe to Lebanon in order to finish the war, and now we are really sicker, and we are in a worse place than before. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MP Kakura, with sharing very interesting insights on Lebanon's internal struggles. And building on this, we're going to move to our next speaker. So, Fadi, from your perspective in Lebanon, how are current developments across the region, including the roles of regional powers, shaping Lebanon's security, stability, and future prospects?
Thank you, Cindy. It's an honor. I am honored to be in this webinar along with MP Halima and our guest from Norway, and with everyone in here, and especially with our GPL president, Fadi Abi Alam, who is among us anyway. So I prepared a short paper on the regional developments and national prospects. So I would like to thank you, my dear friends, colleagues from Lebanon, Norway, and beyond, for this opportunity to speak during a crucial moment in Lebanon history. I speak to you not just as a representative of the Green Party of Lebanon, but as a concerned citizen and committed political actor in a country facing compounding crisis, economic, political, environmental, and now increasingly security-related. Let's first of all talk that our internal crises are no longer merely domestic. They are inseparable from regional developments and the power struggles of surrounding states. To understand Lebanon's prospects for peace, reform, and recovery, we must look squarely at the forces shaping its security and stability. First, the regional agendas and local fragility. The Middle East remains deeply fragmented with powerful regional actors. Let's say Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, and the Gulf states, each pursuing their own interests, often through smaller, unstable states like Lebanon. Our country, unfortunately, offers fertile ground for external influence, as Dr. Halima did say before. For external influence due to our confessional political system, weak state institutions, and economy, even when these actors are not directly clashing militarily, they project their rivalry onto our internal politics, supporting competing factions, funding parallel institutions, and shaping public discourse. The Israeli-Palestine war and Hezbollah role. Since the Gaza war did start in October 2023, Southern Lebanon has been one of the most affected front lines of regional spillover. Hezbollah, who is pro-Iranian, as all of us knows, has intensified operations in support of the Palestinian cause, justifying its action as a part of the axis of resistance. Daily cross-border shelling, drone strikes, and military escalations have displaced over 100,000 people and destroyed homes and infrastructure in both Lebanon and northern occupied Palestine. These confrontations have brought us dangerously close to full-scale war, a war Lebanon cannot survive. Our economy is collapsing, public services are crumbling, and political paralysis continues to delay any serious state response. Another war would mean mass displacement, further economic collapse, and a humanitarian crisis far beyond our current capacity to manage. The third issue, the Israel-Iran escalation and Lebanon's calculated distance. In the recent weeks, the region experienced a new wave of escalation. On June 13, 2025, Israel launched a series of airstrikes on Iran, and Iran responded with targeted drone and missile strikes on Israeli-linked sites across the region. This tit-for-tat raised alarm bells across the Middle East, with many fearing an all-out regional war. But something important here happened. Hezbollah did not intervene, unlike in previous confrontations. Hezbollah coordinated with the Lebanese government to avoid drawing Lebanon into a broader conflict. This restraint reflects a growing understanding, even within the resistant camp, that Lebanon's internal collapse must be a priority over regional battles. Shortly after US strikes on Iranian positions further complicated the landscape, but signs of back-channel diplomacy begin to emerge. Today, there is a cautious hope for a ceasefire and regional de-escalation. If this window is seized, Lebanon may be spared another devastating war and given a fragile space in which to address its internal priority. Iran-Saudi competition. The China brokered the détente between Iran and Saudi Arabia in 2023 brought temporarily calm, including in Lebanon. Riyadh pulled back from overt engagement, while Iran influence through Hezbollah remained intact. But this truce is not guaranteed. Tension in Gaza, Yemen, or Iraq could easily spill back into Lebanon. Furthermore, Lebanon has largely disappeared from the list of Arab priorities. And this is something bad. Gulf states are more focused on normalization with Israel, internal reforms, and competition with Iran on a larger scale. Lebanon, in other words, is marginalized within the Arab consensus. This isolation deepens our vulnerability and leaves us without the regional backing once used to balance foreign influence. Let's now talk about the international powers, the United States, Europe, and others. Beyond the region, the United States remain a central actor, providing military aid to the Lebanese army and leveraging political pressure through financial institutions. But Washington's approach is mostly security-centric, focused on countering Hezbollah, sanctioning Iran, and supporting Israel unconditionally. This policy, especially amid its blanket support for Israel wars in Gaza, had eroded U.S. credibility in Lebanon and across the region. Lebanese citizens, especially youth and civil society actors, see the hypocrisy in demanding reforms while ignoring the root cause of instability. France and the European Union, once more engaged, now take a back seat. Their focus is mostly humanitarian, especially in relation to Syrian refugees, while serious political support for reform remains elusive, except France, some actions toward helping Lebanon politically. In the absence of coordinated international roadmap, Lebanese reformists and institutions are left isolated and unsupported. As we look across the region, it's not just the usual big players like Iran, Saudi Arabia, or Israel who are shaping Lebanon's future. Turkey has been quietly expanding its footprint, particularly in northern Lebanon, let's say, in cities like Tripoli where I live, and Dakar. Turkish aid, religious institutions, and cultural outreach are filling a vacuum left by years of state neglect. For some marginalized Sunni communities, this support feels like recognition, but it's also a form of soft power, strategic, calculated, and political. This becomes even more significant when we factor in the latest turning point, the fall of the Assad regime in Syria. For decades, Lebanon was caught in the grip of Assad's security and intelligence. Now, a new regime is rising in Damascus, one that is eager to assert influence again, but through softer means, trade corridors, economic deals, border security, and political alignments with old allies. So now we are in a new chapter. Lebanon is no longer under Syria's direct control, but it's facing the return of Syria, Iran, Turkey, and even Gulf interests in different forms. Each is pushing their own agenda through Lebanon's fragmented political and sectarian map. And once again, the Lebanese people are caught in the middle. The lesson here is clear. If we don't reclaim our national decision-making, if we don't invest in a strong, accountable state, others will continue to write our future for us. And we have seen where that road leads. The question isn't whether Syria, Turkey, or any power will try to influence us. The question is whether we will allow it. I think now we're having a new chapter of leadership and a fragile hope. Against the backdrop of geographical complexity, Lebanon has witnessed a significant political development. The election of the President Joseph Aoun and the formation of the new government under Judge Nawaf Salam. This shift has generated hope both domestically and internationally, while the sectarian power sharing system, and I know how Dr. Halima is facing this sectarian power sharing system, remains intact. The credibility and independence of the new leadership have opened space for institutional functioning reform initiatives and renewed engagement with civil society. But this moment is fragile. The political class remains deeply entrenched. and systemic reforms will not come overnight. Yet the new government stands on neutrality in regional conflicts, and its efforts to rebuild state legitimacy must be seen as a chance worth protecting. Where do we go from here? Lebanon's fate is now balanced on three fragile dynamics. The first, the pace of regional de-escalation, especially in the Israel-Iran axis, the capacity of the new leadership to break with paralyzing political traditions adopted, and the support of international allies, not just through humanitarian aid, but through political partnership rooted in peace building, justice, and sustainability. Despite the immense challenges, I believe there are promising opportunities for Lebanon and the region. First, the potential ceasefire between Iran and Israel would reduce an immediate threat of regional war, and maybe a new Middle East system is going to be born again. Lebanon must use this opening to reinforce its neutrality, avoid further entanglement, and focus on national recovery. Second, across the region, a new generation is demanding accountability, climate action, and political inclusion. In Lebanon, civil society, youth groups, and reformist actors remain our most vital assets, and we are counting on people like you, Dr. Halim. They must be supported, not sidelined. Finally, we need to expand cross-border solidarity. Greens, human rights defenders, and peace activists across the Middle East, and in solidarity with international allies like Norway, can and must work together. Let us focus on what unites us: justice, dignity, environmental survival, and a future beyond militarism. Lebanon deserves peace, Lebanon needs reform, and Lebanon must not be sacrificed again for the ambitions of the other. Let us build a new political imagination, one that connects Beirut to Oslo, Tripoli to Bergen, and Saida to Trondheim. Thank you for listening, and I am sorry if I passed my time. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fadi, for really sharing the whole regional turmoil and the implications that has for Lebanon. So before moving to Sigrid, I just wanted to perhaps MP Kakur, maybe you could share some reflections on how you and you mentioned it in your previous presentation on Lebanon's internal vulnerabilities and how they sort of interact with the regional tensions. Maybe you wanted to elaborate a bit more on that before we move on to the next session, or share some reflections on what Fadi just talked about.
Yes, yes, it's the vulnerability. Lebanese vulnerability is really caused by many factors. The first factor is the regime itself, the weak institutions, the weak rule of law, and the weak belonging to Lebanon. So we have, like as I said, we have an identity crisis in Lebanon. So yes, it will really cover Lebanon, open the doors of Lebanon to the international interference, and it will really work on our internal division. So this is why, for example, I can tell you an example. Many states, when they have wars, it increases the national unity. When you have an external attack, so everyone, like, the solidarity primes. So everyone's stick to each other in order to defend themselves against the external occupier or any kind of interference from an external actor. But what's happening in Lebanon is the opposite. When we have any regional or international interference in our foreign affairs, the division becomes wider and becomes really very, very extreme because every group in Lebanon is belonging to this or that states more than Lebanon itself. So this is really the problem in my opinion. This is why what we need to do in Lebanon. We need to start building our state, our institutions, our rule of law. We need to work on serious reforms, but short term, but long term, we need to change this political system because any reform I will give you an example, like you're changing the door of the home, you're changing the small detail at home, but you need to change the building itself. So the building is shaking. This is why we have a problem with the building, and we cannot convince people that we can, yes, adopt this law or implement the other law. It's not about this text or the other text. It's about the structural problem, as I said before. This is why, no, we need to start working on the education. I can give you an example. Between 76 and 78% of our students go to the private schools. And this number really doesn't exist in the world, because I checked, for example, the number in UK. So you have between 5 to 15% of students going to the private schools. So this is that is the normal number, because you need to build your own state, your own education curriculum. You need to work on this belonging to our institutional public institutions, because this is how we belong to the state, by starting belonging to our school and then to our company or to our place of job, whether an institution, whether a public institution or private institution. But we need to belong to something in order to really start thinking about our rights as citizens. Start judging on Halima as MP on what she's doing inside the parliament, not on her sect. Not because she's Sunni or Shia or coming from Shuf or coming from Beirut, because what you're doing inside the parliament. Do you really work on a human rights agenda, on social justice agenda? You really making the ministers accountable? So this is the thing that we should rely on, judging people, on electing people, on electing MPs, on electing our representative, whether at the local level or at the national level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a very sort of nice summary, and it seems like the key word here is also, the need to force more social cohesion in Lebanon as a way forward. I'm going to shift focus now and invite Sigrid Heiberg to share her reflections on Norway's role and policy positions in the Middle East. So Sigrid, over to you.
Thank you so much for some very interesting introductions. Now, let me just say first that I'm no expert in this field. So I'm talking to you as a Norwegian politician who cares deeply about this region, about people and peace in general. Now, when it comes to Norway's relationship with Lebanon, I first want to say that I really think it's nice to talk about our two countries, because even though we are basically the same size and we are the same, people, but we have such a different history and such different standpoints right now. But talking like this, people to people, I think is the most fruitful thing that we can do, really. Now, in the last year, Norway has, of course, we have donated 80 million in humanitarian support last year. And we have a history, Norway has a history of contributing in this way, and other types of peace building in the region. But I want to come back to, of course, that the geopolitical situation that we're in is very dire. And I haven't been following this very closely in detail, but I know that in December, Norway joined the statement by the High Representative of the EU on the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon, welcoming the announcement of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. And in January, we joined the EU statement on the presidential elections, congratulating Joseph A. on his election as president. And it seems to me that this indeed marks a moment of hope and renewal for the Lebanese people. The statement commended the parliament for reaching a broad consensus demonstrating responsibility, and said something I really agree with, which is that a spirit of national unity is crucial to allow the participation of all citizens, like you both spoke of earlier, across all components of society to overcome the aftermath of recent conflicts. And I think it seems to me that your new president was a favorite among the international community, with the US and the Saudis, but also more broadly in the international community, and that the power or the balance of power in Lebanon has shifted, also with Israel's war on Lebanon, that Hezbollah has been weakened. And if you look at it from the perspective that Lebanon probably needs billions of dollars in reconstruction money, and that money won't really come unless the international community believes that there is a political leadership that is reform-minded, and that is outside what is broadly seen as a corrupt political class and a problematic economic and political corrupt system. So when coming over to the more general geopolitical situation, I want to underscore that it's a very serious situation that we're in, and that the way I see the situation now with escalation in the Middle East, with Israel waging war again on many of its neighbors, I feel like this is an example. This is the future that we are headed to as a global community. More war, with conflict over fossil fuels, over water, over land and resources, unless we are able to actually change course. Like, we are now seeing a destruction of the international community, that what we did agree on after the Second World War to actually have, well, on paper anyway, right? We agreed that we would have international solidarity, we would respect borders, we would respect human rights to preserve peace, to create peace. But in these 80 years since the Second World War, we have also continuously, as an international community, undermined this peace, because we have built our economies on fossil fuels, on certain countries, most of them with dictators at their heads. Then the problem of fossil fuels is not only that it destroys our climate, but that it's a very geopolitical power factor. So it's unevenly distributed, and it means that countries like Russia, like Norway, like Saudi, has enormous power and has interests. Just as now with Trump in the White House, this is also very clear that, you know, what America is doing is its own, well, it used to maybe be in the United States' own interest. Now it is more and more in the klepto, you know, in the oligarchs' own personal interests, to keep the fossil fuel age and to wage wars to put in there in the military industrial complex and in the fossil fuel industry. So I really believe that these wars that we are seeing now is an example of why we need a green revolution everywhere, because that revolution will also be a democratic revolution. It will be a revolution for human rights, for nature to prosper, for us to be able to live in actual sustainable communities that can last and have lasting peace, because that is really what we need. Every country. This is also why I stopped working in international politics and became a local politician here in Oslo, is because I truly believe that the solution, or to build sustainable peace, we must build local communities that are truly sustainable, that are circular, that produce our own green energy, so that we're not relying on some autocrat, on some dictator, or on dirty oil states such as Norway. Because make no mistake, that is what Norway is. And now this week, Norway has always been a very staunch supporter or a member of NATO. Of course, we were a founding member, and in the last few years, this situation has also changed a lot with Sweden, and which I must say surprised me of how quickly Russia invading Ukraine, which everyone really saw coming. I mean that it would happen at some point if the West kept pushing eastward. It would happen. They had already gone in a few years before, but it's quite surprising how Scandinavia and the West were so completely shocked by this. That 80 years of foreign policy in Sweden and Finland were just thrown aside, and they are now in NATO, which is very understandable, of course. That's up to them what they decide to do, but it's just interesting how this happened. And now all parties in Norway last year, including the Green Party, we all agreed in Parliament for a massive military package. So we will be, quadrupling our defense in the years to come, billions and billions of dollars in weapons and in military personnel and equipment. And this week, it became clear that the Norwegian government commits to allocating 5% of GDP to defense-related expenditures, as we are asked to in NATO. But this is quite extraordinary, and I believe very, very deeply problematic. And I have also said this several times to our Prime Minister in Parliament that we now have a long-term plan for our defense based on the fact that we're very, very scared of Russia. There is no evidence to support that Russia would ever invade us. So this is just us generally being fearful. There's no cold rationale really behind this. It's basically a feeling that we are scared, and of course that we should be scared in an escalating world where international law keeps being broken. But still, we have this massive plan, but we have no long-term plan actually for survival. And when we talk to experts in the field, actually on human survival in Norway and human security, there's no long-term plan. We have no idea what to do in 10 years' time to secure water, food for our population. So this is a very serious situation also for us. And all the politicians are now scrambling to be, who will give the most money, the most guns to the military-industrial complex, but nobody has a long-term plan to secure the human or survival really for Norwegians. So that's the situation that we're in. And I just I'll try to keep it quite short, because I really find it interesting to listen to people who have more, who know more about this than I do. But I want to just be very clear that, Israel's attacks, of course, Israel's ongoing genocide on Palestinians in Gaza and also on the West Bank is completely, this is why we made international law. This is against every rule of how you're supposed to act in a conflict and in a war. It's just so clearly in breach with international law. Israel attack on Iran is also clearly in breach with international law. The US attack on Iran is equally in breach of international law. So we are in a situation where there's an urgent need to uphold international law without the double standards that we're seeing now. And Norway has a responsibility to take clear stances on contentious issues such as the occupation of Palestine, where we have done some good work. My main frustration in the last 6 months has been that even though we have done and said quite a lot of things, and our foreign minister has done quite a good job, I think, in a difficult situation. But Norway remains the biggest European investor in the genocide because we are so heavily invested in Israeli companies and in weapons companies and other companies that are participating in the genocide and in the Israeli war economics. So I want to, say that we, as the Green Party in Norway, we push Norway to be clearer, to withdraw all Norwegian investment, including the sovereign wealth fund from Israeli companies and from what's going on in Palestine. And I think, I'm not sure on how to read the situation. I'm wondering what role Norway can play now that, you know, there's no question that the relationship between Norway and Israel has not only cooled off. I mean, that is it is not what it used to be, for good reason, because Norway has been at least partially standing up to Israel. We have imposed sanctions on some of the Israeli ministers. So I'm really curious. I want to learn more about, like, what can Norway do realistically now with this new situation? And I want to sum up by just saying that I think for us in the Norwegian Greens, I think we should be focused on supporting the same things that I believe all parties and countries should be, obviously, but that is, number one, pushing for regional de-escalation and the situation where Israel is allowed to keep attacking civilians and neighbors in all directions, including you and Lebanon. Two, supporting the efforts of the new leadership in Lebanon to break with these problematic political traditions and systemic problems like corrupt economic traditions. And number three, support civil society in Lebanon, democratic movements, academics, through political and humanitarian cooperations, where we have a long list of very strong Norwegian NGOs and humanitarian organizations, but also all kinds of peer-to-peer partnerships, like the ones that we have with the Green Party of Lebanon. We've had visitors here in the last few months. Thank you to Dette and whoever else have been part of that, organizing that, and to our international group. I truly believe that building international networks for solidarity that are rooted in concrete people, political solutions in our own local communities, that's the way to build lasting peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sigrid. Before moving to sort of your final remarks, I just wanted to ask if Fadi or the MP wanted to share some quick reflections on what Sigrid spoke about.
No, it's okay, but I was so happy about what Sigrid just said about the respect of the international law, about fighting the double standard, because Sigrid, I studied international public law in France, in Europe, so I was so astonished by the European Union rules, by European Union human rights conventions, by the jurisprudence of the human rights court. So I'm teaching my students all these values, democratic values, and blah, blah, blah. And after 7 October, I didn't see any of these values. I'm so sorry to say that. And I was really deceived. I was looking high to these institutions. I took these institutions as really as leader in leadership institutions, and we should abide by these rules, blah blah blah. And when I go to the committee, parliamentarian committee, I used to discuss comparing the law what we have to the European laws. So I was saying, no, the international practice, the EU practice saying that, so we need to go and to be aligned with these texts. And after 7 October, I was not able to do that anymore. I'm so sorry. So I said, it's not about double standards, it's about the absence of all standards. Really, it's not double. It's not like I'm less than the others. I'm not existent. I don't exist. So I'm not just less. I don't exist as human beings, as dignity, human being with dignity, with rights, as like this rule should be applied on me and you. International humanitarian law, we should talk about the rule of wars. We need even wars have rules. Even prisoners they have rights, they have dignities. So even if I'm prisoner, even if I'm committing crimes, I still have this dignity. And I'm not committing crimes. I'm the victim of occupation. He's the one who committing crimes, and no one is talking about using the Security Council, using Chapter 7 against this genocide. No one. It's like all decisions passing in the Security Council was under Chapter 6, and the veto was used to stop the ceasefire in Gaza. It's unacceptable. So I'm so happy to hear you talking about that, talking about the international law. When I talk about impunity in Lebanon, internal impunity is going aligned with external impunity. So we need to go back to rules. We need rules, internal and external rules. We need to go back to our humanity. We need to apply to be all subjects of the same rules, ruling everyone, internal and external, international law or whether internal law. So we need to be aligned. We need to build these alliances based on that. Based on environmental rights, as you said, the green one. Yes, it's part of a human rights. It's all human rights are indivisible. We cannot neglect one right and then protect the other right. It's not like what I want, what my interest is dictating. It's a public interest, not my interest, not my company's interest. So we need to build these alliances outside our borders. Because inside our borders is not working anymore. We are feeling alone, you're feeling alone. So if we build these alliances and we build this solidarity, we might do something. Thank you, Sigrid.
Thank you. I just wanted also to confirm that Sigrid has really fought for international, the international law while she has been at the parliament. And I really sort of admire the work that she has done there as one of the really, really strongest supporter for that. So thank you, Sigrid, for your service. The Green Party is really, really proud of everything that you have done for us. So just wanted to say that. Fadi, do you want to share just a quick...
First of all, let me, while endorsing the words of Dr. Halima, but let me mention something that Shireen, Jordi, and I, during our last visit to Norway, and we visited Sigrid, the European, and especially in Norway, they are a good allies of us, good allies of the Palestinian cause, as they are against the things happened from Israel. And we did participate in two demonstrations in Oslo and in Bergen, endorsing the Palestinian rights to live. And we had so many meetings with the Green Party members, Sigrid, and many people in Norway. We do appreciate these actions a lot. I know that there is a double figure. I mean, in the Western mind. But now, I think we can count more and more about the new endorsement of our humanitarian and the rights to being sovereign here in the Middle East. And the second thing I want to mention, that due to our cooperation with MDG, I mean the Green Party of Norway, let me just say, we thank the Norwegian people through MDG and through Norec, the agency who funded us. They really feel what we feel, that they are really concerned on what are our goals in Lebanon. Just those two things I like to share with you. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have about less than 10 minutes before the end of this webinar. So I think we're going to move over to some questions, and then the panelists might, if you've had if you have some last remarks or anything that you would like to share here at the end, you're welcome to sort of, mix that with answering the questions, since we're running out of time. But first of all, if you have any question, please raise your hand. I see that a question has been posted in the chat, so I think I'll start with that. In the meantime, feel free to raise your hand if you have questions. So there's one question from Susanne Abu Said Daou here, and the question is for the MP. So she asks, can MP Kakur go through the women and vulnerable groups' political participation and the hurdles they face to become in the political sphere and their access to decision-making position? And what steps do you think are required for women's voices to be heard? So that's a very, very big question, but maybe you could just share some quick reflections on that. At the same time, I would also like to add that we're going to organize a new webinar on women in Lebanon on Monday, 30th of June. So it's very soon that we'll be able to really discuss this in depth. But some quick comments from you, MP, on that would be great.
Yes, and because of all I explained about our consultational confessional system, our system is not inclusive. So it's not including women, it's not including youth, it's not including persons with handicaps. So no, we are excluding everyone and keeping just the chief of the sect deciding everything, despite the inclusion, despite the democratic rules. So we need to start with political parties. I know I really appreciate Green Party in Lebanon, okay, because it's a democratic one. It's not based on one person. It's not sectarian one. So I respect Fadi Abu Alam, what he's doing in his party, because it's one of the new emergent party, but they are not in power yet. And I hope next time, Fadi, me and you will be in the parliament together, because we're gonna form our alliance based on environmental rights and human rights and an inclusion. So, but the majority of political parties are not like Green Party, like Fadi Abu Alam, like Social Democrat Party, because we are also a new party, Social Democrat Party. It's not based on a chief who's ruling everything. We have internal, we have bylaws, we have they can hold me accountable, the members of LNA, same as Fadi Abu Alam. But what we have in Lebanon, we have the chief of Shia, we have the chief of Sunni, and they are choosing the member of the list, electoral list. It's not based on skills. It's not based on my own capacity as a candidate. It's based on the mood of the chief. So he's the one who's forming the list. So this is why, who's gonna choose? They're not choosing women, because we have 6% of women at our parliament. We have 8 amongst 128, because they are not putting women on the list, because they're putting rich men who give the chief millions of dollars in order to be part of the list. They are choosing the old friend who abide by the rule of the chief. So that is why women are outside. So we need really to work on new parties like the Green Party, like our party, in order to get more and more women and men and this parliament who believe in inclusion and who believe in democratic criteria. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to hear that. And that is exactly also what the MDG GPL project is about, really. So I see 2 other hands here. Bjarte, I think you were first, and then Menasa after Bjarte.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentations. I want to follow up on the internal conflicts. So what have you done, and how well does it work? How can we, not only the Green Party of Norway, but Europe in general, support further dialogue internally, as this is one of the main problems? Thank you. I think you can talk for Lebanon, Fadi. How well does this work, and what can we do more of?
Let me tell you about success stories and some failure stories. We did a lot of work concerning women's rights, women political participation, and I agree with Dr. Halima that the chiefs and the confessional system do not provide many space or much space. But despite of that, and kindly understanding, we need more empowerment for women, especially in the political participation, in political policies writing. We need our Lebanese women to take steps forward, not only just to say they do not allow us. This is a phrase we usually hear in Lebanon. But I do respect women in Lebanon. I do respect so many organizations that are working on women rights, on women participation. But despite of that, and maybe in a way the religion's restraints or the fear of religion people or something like that. But anyway, in our project of GPL MDG, we do highlight this point, and we are working all along on doing some success stories. Thank you, ma'am.
Great. So I think we're going to leave the last question to Manasseh. Please go
Oui,
ahead.
bonjour. Bonjour, I'm living in Paris. I'm sending you all my regards and thanking you for inviting me to this webinar. I'm really honored with you and the ladies around you and the guys who are there. Thank you for our MP in Lebanon to be there too. I want only to present myself. We just come back now from Tripoli, Lebanon, where we got the third biggest Congress of the region, really, 3 weeks ago. And there was, the name of this Congress is Yes, We Can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can do a lot of things. We do it on the 23, 24, and the 3 weeks ago was the last sessions. So we got panels regarding women, a very nice panel. And we are in Tripoli. And in these panels, a largest discussion, you can enter in Google and see a little bit what happens in these panels. We got our revolution, madam, in Lebanon. The largest revolution, we can call it. And everybody were involved in it. Unfortunately, we are unable to take things between our hands. And I was asking, and we were asking, please, please, let's do primaries. Let's realize primaries between us and choose the women or the men who is capable to be there. Unfortunately, everything sink in the water. And I want to ask the MP, are we going to continue this way? Are we going to continue this way? Impossible to get results. If there is no primary...
Totally agree with you, Manasseh.
I know, my name is Antoine, madam, you can call me Antoine.
Merci, Antoine.
Nice to meet you. It's the first time we are in contact. But believe me, Mrs. Jacobian once was on in a panel like this during the revolution, and I asked the same question, and she told me, you want to make thinking the revolution because those who are going to not succeed are going to become our enemies. This is not a way to think. We have to organize something to make primaries between us, and then we will choose the right man at the right place or the right woman at the right place. This is what I consider is the best things to do now, from now on, really.
Yes, thank you, Antoine.
So, okay, we're about to wrap up. I just wanted to give all the speakers a last chance, like 30 seconds, just some closing remarks before I close the webinar. So we can start with you, MP, if you wanted to say some final words.
I'm so happy to be with you, Cindy, with Sigrid, and with Fadi, and with everyone here. And thank you for your questions. And I think the change is gonna take time. But we need to think about real change, not about really changing our way of thinking, politics. We need to redefine politics. We need to redefine political parties. We need to redefine public interest. I think we need to do that, and we need to build alliances based on that, the new definition of politics and new definition of political parties. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Fadi?
I have nothing to add after Halima's talk. Yeah, just thanking you. I'm truly appreciate this webinar, these efforts. I like to thank Sigrid, everyone who contributed in this webinar. And thank you again. Hope we will keep on communicating in order to have a new Lebanon, a Lebanon with dignity, with sovereignty, with human rights. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Fadi. It's such a pleasure to collaborate with you. Sigrid, some final remarks from you.
Thank you, Cindy. First of all, it's been really wonderful. I've learned a lot. So thank you, Cindy, for organizing, and Dr. Halima. And Fadi, it was really nice to see you again. Hope to see you back here sometime, or for me to visit Lebanon. I've never been there. I would really love to.
You are most welcome.
Thank you. And I want to really conclude by saying, what we should be doing here in Norway as Greens in Norway, because, to give some comment to the Norwegian government, last year they increased the support for Lebanon, making total contribution last year more than $36 million, including, and in addition, 10 million crowns to the UNHCR, to their refugee work in Lebanon and Syria. And recently, in February, it became clear that we are also strengthening educational support for children in Lebanon via UNICEF, and so on, Lebanese children and Syrian refugees. And under this program alone, it will train more than 6,000 teachers and school staff members. And I think that is good. There is good work being done. And I just want to say very, very clearly that we are now in an election campaign. The government that we have now in Norway is far from perfect, but there is a real chance that we will get a right-wing populist government if we don't win this election. And they do not believe in international law. They are actively supporting Israel. They have not, the biggest party, the Conservative Party, have not said a word against the ongoing genocide in Gaza. The right-wing extreme populist party are actively supporting Israel, saying they have no choice. Everything that Israel is doing is okay. So this is a really serious situation. I think this is our responsibility as a Norwegian party and as people in Norway, and everyone else should be doing the same in their country. Stop the extreme right wing and the people and the money, really, because these are usually big money interests that are pushing political agendas that are eroding international law and human dignity. So that is the most important thing that we can do right now to support Lebanon and to support humanity everywhere, really. So thank you so much for this webinar.
Sorry, good luck in your elections. I hope that MDG will gain a lot of seats.
Thanks so much. So I would just like to end with thanking all of our panelists and everyone who has joined us tonight. So I think this conversation that we had really underscores the urgency of Lebanon's crisis and the need for thoughtful, coordinated international solidarity that supports peace, justice, and sustainable development in the region. And I really, really hope that this discussion will contribute to greater understanding and action. And with that, have a good evening. And
thank you to you, Cindy, from everyone. Thank you, Cindy, for excellent sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Hi, Benta.
Hi, Benta.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Grønn torsdag.